Get in, losers, we're going deck building. Adam, I hear you ask, what does home improvement have to do with board games? To which I say, no, you silly sausage. A deck builder doesn't involve the building of that kind of deck. What do you like? Oh, what a funny little mix-up, like something Joey would say. Oh, Joey. No, but seriously though, a deck building game is one where you start out with a very weak hand of cards, but over the course of one game, you buy, swap, and otherwise gain better cards, so that every time you shuffle your deck from thereafter, the chances get better and better that you're going to end up with a really good and powerful hand. In that sense, a good deck builder is like a mini RPG in a box, which is one reason why they've become such a prevalent and satisfying type of board game. But which are the best your money can buy? I'm so glad you asked. I'm Adam from No Rolls Bard, and here are our top 10 best deck building board games. Honourable mention, Slay the Spire. I know, it's a video game, not a board game. Me, right? But Slay the Spire is a bloody fantastic example of how addictive deck builders can be. It's a solo deck building roguelike game of climbing a spire, fighting monsters, buying better cards, unleashing them for awesome combos. If you're even slightly unsure, this is how satisfying deck builders can be. Number 10, Dominion. Ah yes, the granddaddy of them all, the OG, the franchise. Dominion is the first game to really popularize the deck building genre. It's normally what people play first. It has oodles of multicolored expansions, and it's also good. It's, shall we say, the margarita of deck builders. Margarita's very good, especially when the ingredients are right, and it's a foundation, but, you know, come on. Dominion's a pure, almost too pure deck builder, really. You start off weaker than a paper bridge with not only bad cards, but also a very narrow range of things to do. You have a deck of 5 cards and only 1 action to spend, so when you buy cards at the beginning, you can only buy a maximum of 1 card. It's so restrictive, but soon that opens up and you're chaining money and actions by multiple cards, choosing the best time to buy victory points to clog up your hand, but a key to winning the game. You can even attack your neighbors. That narrative going from frustratingly weak to aggressively overpowered was revolutionary at the time, is the standard now, and is still perfectly functional as an introduction. But now there's bigger, better games out there. Number 9, Paperback, aka Deck Builder Scrabble. This is a wonderful, low-energy summer afternoon game. Again, you start off with weak cards, but in this case, they're letters. And in order to spend these cards, in order to buy better ones, you first have to use the ones in your hand to make a word. As time goes on, you buy better letters, maybe combination letters, maybe ones that give a little bonus. You use them to make longer words to get more and more points. Your vocabulary literally expands as you play. It is so charming. Plus, it's a Tim Fowers game, and if you remember our coverage of another one of his games, Fugitive, that means 2 things: tight little design, but also this gorgeous 60s cartoon artwork. Love Tim Fowers games. Works brilliantly with 2 for a pleasant low stakes time. Number 8, Star Realms. Works brilliantly with 2 for an aggressive high stakes time. No around here. Star Realms made a splash a few years ago for a number of reasons. It's a whole bunch of game for a small price tag, and it found a way to take that slow escalation that most deck builders have and condense it into a fast, intense 20-minute fist fight in a toilet cubicle. You play cards to either buy cards or space punch your opponent. The turns are so quick and the cards get so powerful that things get real violent real fast. So your cards come in factions like the red robots, the green slime creatures, and if you can play more than 1 card of the same faction, that can double, triple the effectiveness of your turn, so it becomes a mad scramble to make these factions, and the pace of escalation is half the joy. Laughing as you go from turn to turn, wielding first the space equivalent of being empty-handed, then the space equivalent of blunt scissors, then upgrading to a fucking gun, and then napalm. Excellent, violent, excellent. Number 7, For Glory. Are you not entertained? Yes, this is a very entertaining game. It's the newest entry on this list as well, with a review copy kindly provided to us by Spielcraft Games. Like Star Realms, it's another strictly 2-player game focused on combat, but shifting it from the laser blast of deep space to the blood and teeth and oh no, a mace to the face of gladiatorial ancient Rome. There's also a really pleasing phase structure to the game that separates it from the frenetic scramble of Star Realms into something more weighty and satisfying. The game is split into 2 phases, a machinations phase, which sees you buying gladiators, attracting patrons, which gives you influence to play better gladiators, training your big, beautiful, beefy bully boys by buying tactics and reaction cards, reserving them in a separate deck for fights down the road. The other phase is the arena phase, where all your preparations pay off and you let your lads free to just start lamping each other with blow and counter blow, all to try and win these glory tokens. Fights aren't always guaranteed to happen. You can actually go through several machinations preparations phases in a row before you head to the arena, and that tension sits over the game. Buying, preparing, scheming, up and up and up until one big, lovely explosion of violence. Number 6, Undaunted Normandy. And speaking of violence, the third and final entry on this list about deck builders pitting two players against each other. Star Realms is a slap fight in a fountain. For Glory is like chess, but every third turn you give your opponent a dead leg. Undaunted Normandy is sheer, strung out, stressful cat and mouse. It's World War II, one of you is a US unit, the other is a German unit, and you'll play out a specific scenario, each with a different map with a different objective. After bidding to see who goes first, you'll have 3 cards, just 3 in your hand to play with, and every action you take comes with a big old but. You can scout ahead, but that adds useless Fog of War cards to your deck. You can move, but only to places that have been scouted. You can recruit more soldiers, but they each belong to a certain squad, A or B, and the more soldiers in your deck, the harder it is to randomly draw the right soldier from the right squad at the right time. Or you can attack, shooting cards literally out of someone's hand or out of their deck and out of the game. That soldier dies forever and he's got a name, but you can only do it if you roll a certain number with your dice. All this means that each turn you are tiptoeing towards victory, trying to manage your deck, occasionally leaping out of cover to make a mad, dangerous dash across open ground amidst a hail of bullets and either American or German curse words.
Verflucht!
German curse words are better. Number 5, Clank. Cheeky game this, not only because of its wry sense of humour, but also in how it toys with you. You'll play competing adventurers, translation, big old thieves, working your way through a dungeon and trying to escape with a bunch of artifacts, translation, other people's shit. Before you wake the dragon, and he munches on your soft meats. Like other deck builders, you spend cards to get cards, but in Clank they come in 3 types. Skill points let you buy cards, swords let you fight creatures for prizes, and boots let you move further into the dungeon, which can be super useful as the first player to stumble across a secret gets to pocket it. The longer the game goes on though, the more noise or clank you'll make, which means you add a cube of your colour to this space. Then, whenever a card appears with a dragon symbol on it, the dragon will wake and attack. All cubes go in the bag, and then cubes are drawn out. If it's black, lucky you. If it's your colour, oh no, you've been munched by a dragon. You take damage. If you take 10 damage, bad luck, you dead. And while getting in is easy, if you can't get out of the dungeon in time, all your points are lost. It's a lovely tense system of exploration and knowing when to cut your losses, a sword of Damocles hanging over your heads the entire time. There's also an expansion you can buy to make the game Legacy, which is supposed to be really ace. I want to play it. Number 4, The Quest for El Dorado. What I love about making lists like these is seeing how many different twists on a base mechanism of a list subject I can find, because that's how it happens in board gaming. A new style of game comes out, Dominion introduces deck building to the mass market, then designers take it, focus it, mix it with other styles of game. You get games more focused on combat like For Glory or Star Realms. You can add Scrabble, or in the case of El Dorado, make a racing game. In the game, the first player to get to El Dorado wins, simple as that, and you move your expedition by spending cards with terrain symbols that match the space in front of you. If you spend 6 explorer symbols, you can move a number of spaces with symbols that collectively add up to 6. On your turn, instead of using them to move, however, you could also spend these cards to buy better ones to let you move further, and there's a wonderful dilemma to that. You can literally see your opponents sprinting off in the distance, but you're slowly amassing enough movement to blitz up the board in a fucking plane. Bye, idiots. It's a simple to learn, hard to master balancing act of knowing when to run and knowing when to rest. Number 3, Legendary Encounters. There are a lot of legendary games, mostly co-op, and involve you building up an increasingly powerful hand of recognizable pop culture characters in order to biff some big bads. The Legendary universe started with Marvel Legendary, but has expanded to include Firefly, Buffy, James Bond, X-Men, X-Files, Big Trouble in Little China, why not? But for my money, the best one is Legendary Encounters, set in the Alien universe. The game pits you and your friends against those damn HR Geiger some bitches with some wonderful tweaks to the formula, like objectives you have to complete that are straight lifted from the Alien movies, enemies that are hidden as they travel towards you unless you spend cards to scan them, which ups the tension massively, to the fact that if you get face-hugged, a chestburster card goes into your deck, so that at some point in the future, you don't know when, you will draw that card into your hand and die, and in some cases even become an alien fighting against the rest of your own team. That is so rad. It's a real pulse pounder and a great example of using deck building to mirror a narrative from a survival horror movie, running scared until you're ready to mecha suit up and start throwing some hands. Number 2, Quacks of Quedlinberg. Okay, so this technically isn't a deck building game, it's a bag building game, but you shut up and you leave me alone. It's a very similar principle, starting with weak stuff, in this case potion ingredients, and you spend the game buying better ones that instead of going into a deck, go into a bag. The big difference is that deck builders normally let you draw a big hand of cards each turn, which means you can see immediately which ones are useful and which ones are bobbins. In Quacks of Quedlinberg, you add better and better chips to the bag, but you can never look inside that bag. You have to remember what's in there, and my short-term memory sucks. This is important because each turn you're building a potion in your cauldron, and you do this by playing chips one by one from your bag. The number of the chip is how far out from the center you can move. The further you move out in a single turn, you get more points and money to buy more chips. Hooray! But here's the sting in the tail. Your bag also contains a number of these cherry bomb chips, and if their total in your cauldron ever reaches 7 or more, your cauldron explodes with terrible consequences, which makes every turn so goddamn tense because you spent a bunch of money on some good chips. You know they're in your bag somewhere, but you're up to 5 cherry bombs now. Do you risk it? Do you push your luck? Do you take just one more chip from the bag? Oh no, you've done gone boom. And number 1, Aeon's End. Ever wanted to be part of the Avengers if the Avengers was set in ye olden times of ye olden magics? Then this game is for you. It's a co-op deck builder where you all play parts of a fantasy super team tasked with biffing the living Balax off a big bad before it can destroy the town of Gravehold. Bloody hell, why would you move there? Can't wait to get on the property ladder and Gravehold. There are 4 big bads or nemesis in the base box, each one with a different difficulty, different way of playing, and each of them are really quite hard. This game is really quite hard. You start off weak and build up by buying better cards. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but Aeon's End has one really excellent trick up its sleeve. In most deck builders, when you buy cards, they go into your discard pile. When you have no more cards in your draw pile, you then shuffle your discards to create a new draw pile, and that's how you access the new cards that you've bought. That does mean it's always a crapshoot when you're gonna get those juicy new cards, not in Aeon's End. Cards you buy go in your discards, and any cards you play go in turn there too, but in any order you choose. Then when your draw pile is empty, you simply turn your discards upside down. You don't shuffle them. God, some of you aren't going to care about this, but I think it's brilliant. This means if you're savvy, you can program exactly when your cards are going to come up again. You can properly make big brain plays with your team, and it's already a very communal game. Lots of your spells and powers help each other out, meaning yes, it's punishing, but unlike so many co-ops, you can really start to step-by-step plan. And yes, it makes it a bit of a brain crunchy heavy game and not necessarily for complete newcomers, but when everyone is working together and you pull off this huge chain of offense, it's one of the most satisfying co-op experiences in gaming today. And that's our list. What's your favorite deck builder? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video around if you enjoyed it, and why not subscribe to No Rolls Barred for more excellent board game content. Get on board.